Who's ready to review a really shitty Christmas movie? Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 stars Samantha Scully, Bill Moseley, and is directed by Monty Hellman. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Christmas horror review. I promised you a couple of those. I just did a Christmas horror story, which I had a blast with, so be sure to check that one out. I have my Christmas horror review playlist on display at the front page of the Drumdums YouTube channel. That sounds weird to say it like that. And yeah, I love reviewing Christmas horror movies. I think I give even bad Christmas horror movies a pass. There's just something fun about them. Silent Night, Deadly Night is a really troubled franchise. These are movies that pretty much after the first one take a really sharp nosedive way down. And even the first one has, like, you know, a really low B-movie quality to it. And that's part of its charm. Really, that's part of the charm of all of them. The second one is really only half a movie, sandwiched with a recap, a really long recap of the first movie. This one is a complete shit bomb, and that's as professional as I can get with the beginning of this review. But before I get into this review, a couple of promos here. One for Adam Marcus, director Adam Marcus, who directed Jason Goes to Hell. He has a new Christmas movie out called Secret Santa. I haven't seen it yet. I checked out the trailer for this thing. Looks irresistible, actually. It's a psychotic Christmas dinner that's full of blood and, you know, painting the walls.
Anybody else feel like it's hot in here?
I have had just about enough of this.
Enough of what?
Get out of my house.
It's not going anywhere. It's my house, too.
Hey!
Shut your mouth about my sisters, you pig!
It looks really fun, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I just found out about this movie, but it's available on DVD and Blu-ray now. And yeah, I wanted to let you guys know. So I'll put a link to it in the info box. It might be available on Amazon too. But you know, I like Adam Marcus's work. I like what he did with the Texas Chainsaw 3D. I always stand by that movie. I stand up for it all the time. I love it. But Secret Santa looks like a lot of fun. Also, talking about like podcasts, it's hard to find good horror podcasts. I kind of do a podcast. It's a Scream stream. It's more of a video cast, but that's been doing really well. But Brandon A. Lane, he actually messaged me and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in promoting my podcast?" You know, he was actually going to pay me some money for it. And I said, "Well, can you send it to me so I can listen to it? Because I don't want to promote anything that I am not, you know, passionate about." So I listened to his podcast, and after I was done, I was like, you know what, I'm going to promote it for free. Because A, it's a really entertaining listen, and B, he is a Southern boy like myself. So I definitely wanted to help him out in any way I can. So I'll put a link to his podcast below too, so you can check it out. The one I listened to, he was talking about Halloween 4, which was really fun, actually. Because you guys know how much I love Halloween 4.
Recording live from the Black Lodge, it's me, the free will burning, head turning, ass kicking, machismo dripping, master podcast and mouthpiece of the Southeast, Brandon A. Lane, bringing you a new edition of the Rants from the Black Lodge podcast.
Before we get to that, first off, his name isn't Michael. It's Michael! Michael! My kids even do it. Okay, do you know the story of how they ended up with the mask in this film? Okay, they ordered them directly from, like, I believe it was Don Post's son. And somehow a mix-up happened, and
But anyway, now let's get into Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3. I was actually really looking forward to watching this one. There's just something irresistible about this franchise, and even though this one was pure crap, I'm still looking forward to the rest of them. It's weird. But I went on eBay and I picked up the 3-pack, and it's kind of deceptive because it looks like the first movie, but it's not. It's actually 3, 4, and 5. If you look right down there, I think they could have done a better job with that cover art to let you know that it's 3, 4, and 5. And they even use Roman numerals, which looks kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, if you want 3, 4, and 5, then you have to buy this thing right here. I got it off of eBay. And you know what you're getting when you buy, you know, Silent Night, Deadly Night. They're not good movies, you know. But they're bad and they're fun, I guess. But quick plot synopsis. This one is weird because it takes place shortly after the events of the second one. Ricky who we thought was dead in the second one, he is pretty much kept alive through almost like this experiment where these doctors are like playing with his brain. And he is a completely different character in this one than he was in 2. That garbage day charm that he had in 2 is completely gone, and he is reduced to a full-on Michael Myers type of character in this. Slash between Michael Myers and the Silent Rage, the Chuck Norris slasher movie. I got strong vibes of that too, actually. But the kicker is Bill Moseley, who is one of the most animated actors. You know, he played Chop Top, is playing a Michael Myers type character. So it just feels like a huge waste, and I've already jumped into a big con there. Most of this review is going to be cons, actually. But our main character, Laura, played by Samantha Scully, she has sort of a gift. She's blind, but she can see into the dreams of the coma victim, Ricky. So they're using her to kind of tap into his dreams and tap into his thoughts. And so, you know, of course, he gets brought to life, and then he stalks her throughout the rest of the movie. And if I get a little bit of this plot mixed up along the way, it's because at that moment in the movie, I might have been gut laughing. But then we see that she has this brother that looks like Fabio with a perm. You know, this came out in 1990, I think, but you know, it's still got 80s breadcrumbs sprinkled all over it. And the brother looks hilarious. But, you know, it was the style of the time, I guess, right? I'm veering off, I apologize. But they end up going to, I think, her grandmother's house. And then Ricky ends up, you know, following them. And you've already lost interest in the plot. You know, it's a standard slasher plot. That's what this is. But this movie is really, really bad. You know, this is a slasher movie done wrong. Way wrong. One thing is, Ricky is not interesting at all in this movie like he was in the first one, which is crazy to me because, like I said, it's Bill Moseley. But, you know, he walks slower than Myers does in part 2. But not only does he walk slow, but he talks slow. He's pretty much comatose when he's not comatose. So there's really nothing interesting about him as a character at all. Then you got this knockoff Loomis character, the doctor that's chasing him throughout. He even has this scene where, you know, it's supposed to be like a Loomis type scene. You know where Loomis always had these moments where he would, you know, talk about how dangerous Michael is as a character? That's what this doctor's doing. And then you got this detective that's right there with him. I mean, it's a complete ripoff of some of the aspects of Halloween, actually. I'd say as far as like all the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, this one is the most like Halloween, but it does everything wrong. Also, the production value in this movie is really low. It looks like this movie was made for $2.95. It just doesn't look good. There's nothing interesting in the frame at all. Even the hospital settings, they don't look cinematic. They don't look big. You know, take Halloween 2 as an example. You know, there was a lot of shadows to play with. The scenes in this movie, they don't feel like they're lit that well. You know, this feels like a rushed production. As a matter of fact, speaking of rushed production, I believe that the original script for this is what ended up being the next movie, Initiation, which I hear is actually pretty decent. But this script is pretty much just straightforward, by the numbers, you know, just a straight up slasher. Also, the kills in this movie, the MPAA did get a hold of this one, and they did cut out some of the kills. So it felt like the first 3/4 of this movie were all like cutaways for the kills. But there are a couple of moments near the end where you get to see a little bit more blood. But, you know, there's one scene when Ricky kills one of the receptionists in the hospital, and it literally looks like ketchup is spraying on the counter. You know, there's just no creativity there, because if you can't purchase, you know, the real movie blood, then at least try to get creative or something. Like in Psycho, you know, they used chocolate syrup because they were black and white. Find ways around your budget if you can. And it seems like they didn't care as much about getting creative and making the best out of their budget. And also more on the kills, a lot of times they feel off. And look at this clip, you'll see what I mean.
I don't know what's going on here, but whatever it is...
Holy shit!
It's no use.
You see that actually is a pretty decent kill, you know, because there's a nice surprise there. You know, the hands pop through the door, but there's no use of music in the scene at all. which sometimes can work, but you know, you got to be a really good director to pull that off. This scene to me felt incomplete. And there's a few scenes like that with the deaths in this movie. Also, the acting is piss poor to serviceable. There are some moments where the acting's pretty serviceable. As a matter of fact, the girlfriend of Laura's brother went on to do some pretty big things. She was in Mulholland Drive. So there's some decent acting in there, but then there's some really bad acting as well. And here's a real crime. You know, this is supposed to be a Christmas horror movie, but there is really no Christmas atmosphere to be found in this movie. It doesn't feel like Christmas. And you know, I think you have a leg up when you're a Christmas horror movie because as far as like lighting goes and atmosphere, Christmas more than any other holiday is probably the most colorful holiday. So you could play around with, you know, the sets and the lighting and all that and make it fun. I mean, look at Black Christmas, both movies, the remake and the original. Those movies look glorious and they take advantage of that Christmas atmosphere. This one, the whole thing just looks bland. So a lot of creativity is just completely lost in Silent Night Part 3. And really the only pro I can give this movie is I didn't mind Laura as a character. You know, I think if they would have beefed up everything around Laura, you know, I mean, because I kind of liken her to what they did with Tina in Friday Part 7. She had those, you know, those possibilities there, but they just didn't take advantage of it. And so she was kind of left with nothing to play with. And, you know, Bill Moseley completely wasted opportunity there. You could have used him and it made this a much better movie. Because you don't really want a silent killer in a Silent Night movie. The first two movies are not silent killer type movies. So for that, guys, I'm going to give this a 2 hours loss. It almost gets a Looped in Hell, but I could find myself watching it again for some reason. It's one of those movies, I think it's so bad that it's almost good, but not quite. But, you know, at least I was like laughing at it and having a good time while I was watching it. It does fly by pretty quick, so that's why I can't give it a Looped in Hell. A Looped in Hell to me is a movie that is just excruciating to watch, whereas this was kind of fun. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on Silent Night Part 3? I'm looking forward to Part 4, actually. Let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and Drumdum out.